Well, thanks for coming. It's great to be here. I'd say this is probably the most anticipated finals in, who knows, 30 years. We've had a great run up to it. I was just looking at some numbers. The seventh game on TNT was the highest rated game in the history of our relationship, and that's almost 3 decades with the Turner organization. So it tells you something about the interest in this game, and that interest is going to be expressed tonight by fans in probably 215 countries, enjoying the game in 46 or 7 different languages, and they should, because we've got 2 teams who are no strangers to the finals. We've got 2 teams that have more than 1 championship ring. We've got a group of players who are going to be in the Hall of Fame, and we expect to have a heck of a series, probably the best that I could possibly expect for my last finals. We've had a great year. I think the NBA is literally at the top of its game, and it has no place to go but up, rather than no place to go but down. It's going straight up, globally, digitally, television, and we're excited about the upcoming season when we'll play games in 8 international cities, and we're trying to finalize arrangements for a couple of regular season games in international markets, and everything is really, really very good. And as we're here planning for the finals, we're working on the draft, the Las Vegas Summer League, and the international games as well. So it's busy all around. And that's it. It's all good, and we're happy to answer any questions.
All right, we're going to start on the left here with Tim.
Tim Reynolds, AP. Commissioner, good evening.
Good evening.
I know you still have several more months on the job, of course, but I'm curious, as you go through a last finals or the last really anything, are you stopping to savor these moments a little bit more? And what are some of the ways in which you're doing that as you go through all this for the final time?
It is not in my nature to stop and savor. And my colleagues are all laughing at me in the front row. We've got too much to do. I was happy to be able to be at 12 of the arenas of the 16 teams who are in the playoffs. We're busy. I was really lucky to be at games 6 and 7 of the last of the Miami-Indiana series, and we're involved in business planning and other things. And so I really haven't been. I'll savor it when it's over. I'll look back on it, I do know every day that I have the best job in the world, and I'm looking forward to handing over the gonfalon to Adam, who will then have the best job in the world, and I'll explain to him what a gonfalon is, and he will carry it to heights that are going to make me very happy, and I will remain committed to the continued success of the NBA. That's the thing that I think about more than I think about looking backwards. I'm actually looking forward to helping the NBA in any way possible as it rises to continued new heights.
Fourth row, third one in, Mike.
Mike Monroe, San Antonio Express News. David, Greg Popovich has managed his team in such a way it is now positioned with a chance to win a 5th title in 14 years. As a coach who's had great success for 16 years, he obviously felt the need back on November 29th to rest 4 players when the Spurs played here in Miami. Yes, it was a TNT game, but his greater goal seemed to be long-term to win a title. Do you regret penalizing the Spurs so severely for taking an action that now appears to have been strategically sound?
Are you reading, Mike?
I was.
Okay, then the simple answer is no. Next question.
Who we got? We'll go here with Steve.
Steve Ashburn, NBA.com.
I have to add something. Pop is a great coach, a Hall of Famer, and a visionary. But on this one, you know, he wasn't resting Danny Green. It was a game that was being played. I know it, you know it, and he knows it. And maybe the game is successful, but I do think we have some obligation to our fans to come up with some system, despite the disclaimers of our owners, that has some kind of guarantee that if you buy a ticket for a particular team, that you might see a representative sample of that team. And that's the dilemma, recognizing that there are games to be played within games. And of course, I would never tell a coach that he shouldn't rest a player that needs rest. We understand that completely. And that's not what we did.
Steve?
David, considering how prevalent it's been through these playoffs, how do you feel about the current usage of the replay rule, and what concerns or thoughts do you have about it going forward?
You know, we want to get it right. And we do have concerns about additional replay, but we're looking at it. And we're actually even toying with the notion of whether replay can be done off-site review, the way it's done in the NHL, to relieve the burden on the referees who are stuck in the middle of intense game time action. Might have some difficulty with the noise communicating to the truck exactly which play they want, and whether it's through off-site review or more intense review of a different kind. We've got to find a way to make it a little smoother, but we like it a lot because it is very much evidence of the fact that we care about getting it right. And I get some emails from friends saying that if you ask the fans, they'd say it's not worth the delay. And honestly, I say we have asked the fans, and they say it's absolutely worth the delay. You have an obligation to get it right to the greatest extent possible, and we will be discussing that at the competition committee next week in San Antonio.
And just to add, Steve, that an off-site review would potentially speed up the process as well. I mean, there's, in addition to the noise and the complication, you have an official trying to talk to a producer in a truck calling for particular replays. And the sense is similar, as David said, to what the NHL does. If you had a group of officials in a broadcast center somewhere, location could almost be anywhere in this day and age of digital media, there wouldn't be that delay in which the officials need to walk over, turn the monitor around, put the headphones on, call for the replays. You could have off-site officials looking at multiple monitors at once, because I think, as David said, we want to get it right, but that's the biggest issue right now, and that's the delay in the action.
It's a subject of continued discussion in our office, and has been, because as I've said and have been quoted, the idea that everyone with a smartphone can see it, everyone at home can see it, and everyone who's sitting
Except the official.
in the you know, with the scoreboards that are going to be the new toy of our arenas that give a great view, but the poor officials don't really see it that way. It's discordant to us, because the idea is to have the game decided on its merits.
8th row in the middle. Brian?
Brian Mahoney, Associated Press. David, you've always kind of looked out for the product on the floor, making it look good, whether it's, you know, hand checking or isolation, making it, you know, a good product out there. And the things now you seem to want to clean up. Flopping doesn't seem to be going away. The issue of resting players doesn't seem like there's an answer to it right now. Are you discouraged? That
No, there's nothing new in the world. We learned that in a historical context and what's going on around us. Floods of a biblical nature and the like, as we sit here ready for awaiting a tornado. But to me, there's always a challenge of getting it right. We knew that flopping was going to be far from perfect and would gather more attention because we were giving it more attention. But the point was to do it gently, look at all the flops, and there have been plenty, penalize the most egregious very gently. We could end that immediately, you know, if we decided to suspend players, but that might be a little bit draconian at the moment. And so it's going to be up to the board and the competition committee to decide how much they want to do. On resting players, I think it's a really interesting subject that I've broached with the owners, and I think we'll have another conversation on it at our board meeting in July and possibly again in October. And because it does have a variety of layers to it, and I think it merits discussion. And so, but there are, someone's going to come back here in 50 years, and maybe I'll come back in 50 years, and the discussion will be about flopping, officiating, instant replay, and Mike Bantham's officials.
6th row on the left.
Hi, Mike.
Howard.
How are you?
Howard Beck from the New York Times. With regard to flopping, David, I know that was a big cause of yours. When you see some of the very prominent plays in the conference finals, did it tell you that maybe the policy wasn't enough? I mean, I know this is year one.
Oh,
and
it isn't enough. It isn't enough. You're not going to cause somebody to stop it for $5,000 when the average player salary is $5.5 million, and anyone who ever thought that was going to happen was allowing hope to prevail over reason. But you take a step and you begin to see it. And I think the cause was not so much mine as it was our fans, who would like not to see that policy.
Having seen it in action now for 1 year plus playoffs, do you think that you now have enough data, the league has enough data to kind of go whatever that next step may be for next season?
I think we do. I think we have the data. I don't know if we have the stomach, and we'll have to see what happens with the competition committee and the board.
Right next to Howard. Henry.
Henry Abbott, ESPN.com. Adam, you've had a front row seat on David's job for a number of years. I'm just wondering, which of the duties that will become yours will you miss David in the most? Like, what are the things you wish you could hand off to him once he's gone?
You're allowed to say not at all, okay? I hereby authorize
Henry,
that.
these press conferences, I have a bird's eye view on how he handles it, so I will miss having David here to answer the tough questions. I think certainly on the disciplinary side, I'm glad I have never had to sit in that seat. Well, I've certainly weighed in over the years. I think that puts anyone, the CEO, commissioner, in a difficult position when within a league, when often it's our friends, colleagues, bosses, owners. I think but it has to be done, and I think David's demonstrated that swift justice, while not always perfect, is the right and best way to operate a sports league.
3rd row in the middle. Mark.
Mark Schwartz, ESPN. Hi, David.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Good. Until 2 weeks ago, there was a strong possibility that the Indiana Pacers and the Memphis Grizzlies could have been here at these finals. And I can't help but feel, with all of my colleagues, listening to what they say, listening to what the networks say about the league, that there's a strong sense that if Roy Hibbert, David West, Paul George, Marc Gasol, and Zebo were here, that people would have a hard time getting excited. And when I say people, I'm talking about television viewers, I'm talking about the media, I'm talking about even people in the league. Is there something the league needs to do so that when Memphis and Indiana are here, instead of Tim Duncan and LeBron James, that you and Adam can get up there and say, this is the most unbelievable finals in 30 years?
You have defined the problem your very self. It's not us, it's our networks, it's the people who attribute views to us that we don't hold. In fact, everything that we have done in terms of collective bargaining, designed to level the playing field and allow teams that are well managed, no matter what their market size, to be in the finals, actually speaks against the conclusion that has been pushed by the media. We are delighted that teams in the lower half of the league, including Miami, have the opportunity to compete for a championship. And I think here we are this year, probably having moved it a little bit further along, where the event will define the teams rather than the team defining the event. This is the NBA Finals. The best example of that, of course, is the NFL. You're in the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter who's in the Super Bowl. You know, Pittsburgh against New Orleans, et cetera. It's just a fixation that the media around us has, because I see it one more time. Well, the people in the league office, never an attribution, no eyewitness accounts, but then again, it's our friends in the media. and very sophisticated media too that just keep saying that. We love it. We love the fact that we're here with Miami and San Antonio. If it were Memphis and Indiana, we would, and they had fought their way through to be in the championship, that would be great too. And it would be great on a global basis, we have no doubt.
But what do the networks need to do so that when Memphis and Indiana meet, the ratings are just as high as when San Antonio and Miami
No, they need to do the kind of promotion. They need to get the people that work for them to stop asking questions like that, and really just promote it. We promote it. That's what we'll do, and you'll see it. It'll take care of itself. It's the whole small market thing is, this is a league that prides itself on Oklahoma City, Memphis, Salt Lake City, Portland, San Antonio, Sacramento, Indianapolis, on and on and on. Those are the cities that make it in our league. And if they're good and they've got a young Bill Walton, they'll do all right. That's the way it works.
Fifth row on the right.
Craig Davis, South Florida Sun Sentinel. The All-Star Game hasn't been here in Miami since 1990. Is there any desire to bring your big midseason event back here? And if you're looking for a larger venue, with the new Miami Marlins ballpark, which seats 37,000, make it more appealing to try to get the game back here?
Go ahead, Commissioner Adam.
We'd love to bring the All-Star Game back to Miami. Eric Woolworth, the president of the Heat, is here. We've had discussions with the Arisons and with Eric about bringing All-Star Weekend back to Miami. It's a function of hotel availability, convention center, arena, and other things, but there's an ongoing discussion. We'd love to be back here.
Is it also Art Basel? Boat show. That's what I knew it was something. Boat show. Okay, we've been in constant contact with them on that subject.
Over on the left side, name and affiliation, please.
Javier Prieto Astigarraga from La Nación newspaper of Argentina. Good evening, Commissioner Stern. I take advantage of my turn to make two questions.
Raise your hand. Oh, there you are. Okay,
Sorry.
hi.
Sorry, hi.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. I take advantage of my turn to make two questions. The first is about why you say goodbye after 30 years, and what were the strongest points and the things that the NBA has still to improve. And my second question is about Manu Ginobili, because he's from my country. I would like to know, what does he represent, what does he mean for the league along these 11 seasons?
Did I hear you say, why am I saying goodbye?
Yes.
I see. Well, I'm saying goodbye because I think that one of the best things that an executive can do is provide for a plan of succession. And when I step down on February 1st, 2014, Adam Silver will have worked with me in 5 different capacities for 22 years. I consider that succession plan to be one of the best things that I have done in the job, and that's why. And I also think that at some time, an organization can use an infusion of different ideas, and at the same time, along the 30 years, there are a group of colleagues that now work at the NBA who have been doing it for a while, but they're very, very young at heart and push us and push each other, and I think it's their turn to shine as well a little bit more. So it's time to step down and step aside, while at the same time being willing to assist in any way I can, particularly internationally. That's to me, that's the sweet spot that I can, where they respect some hair that's white, okay? I'm not saying anything about Adam. And about Ginobili, he's the representative of a country that has given us great players. It's been on display at the Olympics in the national team. It's been a pleasure to watch him lead the Argentinian team. I haven't learned quite the song and the dance when they win in the Olympics, but it's a pleasure to watch. And I think that he just has a way of making big shots in big games whenever you think the games are, sort of have been lost by San Antonio, he has a way to step up and do it. He's been a delight to be with, but I think his representation of Argentina and the kind of game that gets played and the way those Argentinian players have played together for so many years, I think he has helped introduce us to the beauty of the national team, and in some ways has inspired what has happened with our national team, which wasn't the place where players were necessarily thinking about going to, but now youngsters want to play for the under 17 or 17 and over, I guess, 19, 23, and ultimately for the U.S. national team in the Olympics. So we owe a debt of gratitude to Manu and many other great Argentinian players.
Third row in the middle, Mike.
Yeah, David, since this is technically your last State of the League address as
it's not just technical
commissioner during the finals, right? I think you've joined the league as an outside counsel in '66. You've seen the league go from probably 10 to 30 teams. You oversaw drug testing, lockouts, the rise of Michael Jordan, Larry Bird. If you had to put in a nutshell what your greatest accomplishments were and your greatest regrets, what would you say?
I wouldn't list anything. I would just say that you look at the body of work and you say, did he steer the good ship NBA in a productive way? And we've had a lot that we've had to deal with in terms of crisis on the one hand and opportunity on the other. And we've dealt with the crises to protect the mother lode. We've dealt with the opportunity to take this league to a place that we could not have, not only we couldn't have anticipated, we couldn't have imagined back in 1978 when I joined the league office as general counsel. It's a completely different animal. Regrets. I think that we, on the plus side, our players are getting the respect that they deserve, and we have to work hard to make sure that they succeed in life, not only when they are players, but when they retire. And that requires a much closer collaboration with the union about that, and we're very much into that phase of it now. But in some ways, it's probably like flopping, and I forget what else I was asked about. We'll always be improving it. There's so much to improve. But I get a huge kick out of the full basketball cycle, the D-League, the WNBA, the lottery, the draft, the Las Vegas Summer League, the finals, everything that just envelops us and the world. And that just, I think, is, makes me feel very good about our current state of the league, but particularly our players. And every time we can't nurture players, whether it's for one reason or another, to play at their best and be the best that they can be, that to me is a failure. And if they don't succeed in life after basketball, it's on us a bit too.
We're going to take three more, starting 8th row in the back. Ira?
You're trying to cut my last press conference short, Tim, for crying out loud? I'm teasing.
I'm boring.
I'll try to ask a long question instead.
All right, thank you.
Ira Winderman, South Florida Sunset.
Oh, it's you. Forget about it.
Fair enough. This has been the last.
I'm going to ask Ira.
All right. I'm glad you finally made it.
Okay.
Great. Now I know I got you as a friend and Pat and Mickey. The last CBA basically takes a team like the Heat, if they want to stay together, pay an exorbitant luxury tax, probably put it in a revenue-losing situation. My question is, with everything the Heat delivered to this league this year, the 27-game winning streak, which added additional broadcasts for Turner and for ESPN, is it necessarily a bad thing to have teams like this as opposed to wind up in a situation like Oklahoma City where they sell off a player like James Harden and can't be a super team? And maybe is the luxury tax too punitive considering what you have in place now with Miami and the ratings they've helped deliver?
Ira, are you listening?
Always.
For somebody who is a student of the game and the way leagues are, our first request was a hard cap. If we had gotten it the way the NFL did and the NHL did, end of story. Correct. No luxury tax, no nothing. You just get rid of the players. Right? That's what the NHL did the last time. They reconfigured teams. So we, trying to deal with the whole entire situation, said, let's do it slowly, so we'll build up to it. So that the luxury tax doesn't click in to the highest level until the third year, to allow teams to do what they're going to do. And let's allow an amnesty for one player who's dead on the roster, and let's have a stretch so that you can, if you cut a player, you can, you can do that. You can stretch it out twice the length of the contract plus one. I think we were more than compassionate, and some of the teams signed players knowing that we might actually go the NHL route and do what they did in the last deal and just have everyone get down to it. So I don't think that's wrong at all. Remember, we're trying to make the league more competitive, and so we have revenue sharing and we ultimately have player sharing beyond a certain amount, and that's whatever size the market happens to be.
But just to follow that up then, with what the Heat delivered this year, you said ratings terrific for the Eastern Conference Finals. Is there any part of you as a promoter and marketer that would prefer to have this Heat team stay intact for all it delivered this year and the past two?
As a promoter, absolutely, but there are 29 other bosses I have that think it's a great system. And other than the Heat and all of and South Florida media, our league owners think this is a great idea, because we have owners who want very much to compete, and they want to be able to tell their fans they can compete. So despite the fact, as a promoter, I know that the Heat have done a great job. They've put together a great roster. They put together perhaps a team for the ages. It has consequences that they are now dealing with, and actually they're much less harsh than the consequences that would have followed had we gotten what we really wanted in collective bargaining.
Fourth row on the left, Ken.
Ken Berger from CBSSports.com. I have sort of the opposite question on the same topic. When you have the example of James Harden in Oklahoma City, the team making a decision to trade him, in part a financial decision. Memphis with Rudy Gay, in part a financial decision. Indiana may have a financial decision to make with Danny Granger. At what point do you think you will know that the combination of luxury tax and revenue sharing will in fact make it so that, as you said, the goal was, regardless of market size, you can compete and make it to the NBA Finals?
Well, I think we feel pretty confident that we're very much on track for that, and that you'll see even more of the situations where New York doesn't match a Jeremy Lin, Chicago doesn't match a Sheik, and the other instances that you mentioned. We see teams right now making their plans. If you go into not just the war rooms, but the inner sanctum beyond, in the cellar below the war rooms, our teams are making very long-term decisions based upon the luxury tax and how they draft in accordance with that. And that's all about management. So all of a sudden, you've got teams who think they can compete if they do a good job. And in fact, although you didn't ask, I think that's a little bit behind the sort of the coaching changes that are ongoing as well. Teams think they're aggregating something, that they have a certain group of players that they want to get more out of, and they think they're not getting that out of it. So what you do is you think about changing the coaches, or you think about reconfiguring the roster, or you think about having another general manager. The thing you're unlikely to reconfigure is ownership. I've learned a lot in my 30 years, and that's one that doesn't get reconfigured. But so I think it's really here, and it's upon us, and that is managing to the cap. The way they do it now in the NFL and the way it's done in the NHL. And we don't have the hard cap, but we have something that's a very, very close second.
Last question, fourth row in the middle, DA.
David Aldrich, TNT. You sort of answered the question I was going to ask. With George Karl getting fired today, I believe it numbers 13 teams that are going to have new coaches by the start of next season. Do you think that pressure or that belief that everybody has a chance is contributing to that, and is that a good thing?
I tell you, I think it's a natural consequence of a team putting together a roster, putting pressure on the general manager to configure that roster, thinking that they have a chance to compete. They may be wrong, but that's what happens. And then looking in other directions if in fact it doesn't work. And it's not, and in some ways it has to do with chemistry or perceived chemistry. So Larry is out in, Larry Drew is out in Atlanta, and Larry Drew is in Milwaukee in a with different players, different hopes, different place on the scale, etc. And I think you're going to see a fair amount of that as teams feel pressure, because they're feeling the pressure of a system that allows them to draft players, sign free agents, get revenue sharing, and they better look at themselves in the mirror if they can't compete and be competitive at the gate as well. So we think that's very much on the way, and it's very much to be desired. And always compare everything to the hard cap. If you have a hard cap, end of discussion. Get rid of everything above a certain amount. We worked very hard both to phase in the cap, the tax, excuse me, phase in the luxury tax, phase in the the amnesty, phase in the waiver procedure, so that our teams could see it coming, could adjust to it, and there you are. One more question, if there is one. A lightning round. All right, lightning round.
What's your favorite color?
Lightning round. That's it. No. Next.
All right. No, seriously.
What are you? Is Jim Rome here?
No.
Okay, next.
Commission. No. Hey, did you, all right, how'd you feel the day Magic actually announced that he had the HIV virus?
I thought he was going to die. I was thunderstruck with sadness and fear for him. It's the happiest day was when I got to give him a big hug at the Orlando All-Star game, and when he hit that three and was the MVP of the game, and now when I give him a hug and I get my arms around him because he put on a few pounds in the you hear that, Magic? But now he lost it all, so he looks great and he's as healthy as a horse, and it's one of the joys of this job to see that. Oh, no.
Did you actually say the bodies were buried and you buried them yourself to players?
Something,
come on.
Something like that, but
so
it wasn't exactly that. I have them. I have a map. And I'm going to put it in one of the envelopes I'm leaving for Adam.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
David, on behalf of the whole room, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Adam.